Hello everyone, welcome to Geary, where today we're going to be answering one of gaming's hardest hitting questions. That being said, my dear viewer, if I had to guess which existential life question make you toss and turn in bed and wake up in a cold sweat and induce panic every night, I could, with 100% accuracy, come to the conclusion that the question that haunts you so deeply is this one. How tall is the Huntress really? And I don't just mean speculation, I mean a real, actual, definitive height for her character. One so accurate that it should be immediately put into her Wikipedia page right after this video is published. So I answered the most important question in all of gaming, the one that literally everyone has been asking since the arrival of the Huntress into Dead by Daylight. And since the creators of Dead by Daylight are too afraid to answer that question, for they fear what mortal men will do with this information, as evidenced by this cop-out of a tweet, I took it upon myself to find out exactly how tall she is. So we're going to be finding two things. The first being the height of her from head to absolutely filthy grippers, and the second being same as the first, but only this time including the bunny ears in her overall height. But why would I include the ears, you may be thinking? And why not include the skin where she's wearing boots, which would make her 2 inches taller on top of that? And my reasoning for including the ears into her total height is quite simple, really. And it's because her mask literally never comes off. Not for sleeping, not for eating, not for showering, and no, not even for the horizontal shuffle. Again, you foolishly ask me, the warrior elite, the #1 global ranked Huntress simp, but how could you possibly know that her mask doesn't come off for sex? And right then is where I point you to the greatest game ever made called Hooked on You, a Dead by Daylight dating simulator. Yes, they made a dating sim game of a horror game, Dead by Daylight. A dating sim game where, yes, you can absolutely blow the Huntress's back out, and while doing so, she specifies that the mask stays on. Also, if you smash that subscribe button in the next 5 seconds, then the Huntress will smash your head in between her thighs like a watermelon. A truly glorious way to leave this planet. Now, I'm something of a Huntress connoisseur, an aficionado, if you will. I've seen the Huntress in several different forms, whether it be from the tome lore, the original game itself, the dating sim game Hooked on You, fan art, or fan art. And for the most part, they always do a pretty good job at whatever they're trying to do, but the one thing that is consistently forgotten about and gotten wrong the most often is the absolute sheer size, height, and even mass of the character. She's not just an above average height woman. It's pretty clear from what we see in the game, she's an absolute unit. An absolute beast. Many people have speculated her height being anywhere from 5'11" to 6'7", and while yes, that would put her in the 99th percentile for the height of a woman, it's pretty clear that she's much taller than that, unless all the survivors in the game are 4 foot tall for whatever reason. Another theory you often hear is that the entity makes characters taller to make them more intimidating, but as far as I know, that's just not the case here, or else surely the entity would have made someone like Julie or Susie much taller. Why would the entity make Anna, a Russian woman who lives in the woods, throws hatchets with deadly accuracy, and sings lullabies to the men she hunts down like filthy animals incredibly tall, and not change the height of a 20-year-old girl wearing a kitty hoodie and holding a little knife? Something about that just doesn't add up to me. But what the entity does to a killer is a topic for a later day. Let's get back to finding out just how tall this hulking bombshell really is. So I immediately got to thinking, out of all the maps in Dead by Daylight, which one has the most accurate scale for measurement in it? Unfortunately, none of the maps have a random 20-foot tall ruler that I can use to measure her height. That would just be too easy. And I'm not here for easy. I'm here to answer the hard-hitting questions so you can sleep in peace while I'm up at 3 AM speculating the Huntress's bra size, living off of nothing but caffeine and hate. Anyways, there's one map that instantly popped into my head. That, of course, is the iconic Gideon meatpacking plant from the Saw franchise. Now, I know what you're thinking, but I've played that map for years, and I don't remember any useful forms of measurement on it. And to you, I say, oh my sweet, naive summer child. The form of measurement is obscure to some, but to my deviously wired and easily distracted brain, the answer to the most important question in all of gaming has been sitting stacked neatly on the edge of this map the entire time. That's right, the tools for measuring the height of our beloved bunny mommy is the outer walls of the Gideon meatpacking plant. But the problem when it comes to measuring objects in game to get the height of a character is threefold. Let's use doorways for example. The first thing we need to find out is, where is this building located? Because different countries have different height standards for doorways based on the average height of their population. And also, what system of measurements do they use, imperial or metric? Because that information shapes the basic set of standards they use in manufacturing. And lastly, there are only two measurement points to a doorway itself, the top and the bottom. Well, in the middle if the game's realistic enough, but Dead by Daylight, even on ultra settings, there's no lock point on a door, so we only have two. But needless to say, even if it did have the lock point, 3 points just isn't precise enough. But the Gideon meatpacking plant? Well, its outer walls happen to be made up of something easily measurable and just so happens to come in a specific range of standard sizes. That's right, it's made up of concrete blocks, and we know exactly where the meatpacking plant is located. And that's the fictional address of 11235 Blake Drive, Brooklyn, New York State. It just so happens to be that the place is located right here in America, which means it falls under the imperial unit of measurements, and that the concrete blocks fall under a universal standard for dimensions themselves, those standards being 4, 6, 8, 10, and 12-inch blocks. The great thing about using concrete blocks as a form of measurement is that, unlike wood, which can be cut to pretty much any conceivable measurement and length on the planet, concrete blocks are rarely, if ever, outside of the standard sizes they come in. And for the mass-produced scale they were used for in this factory, it's pretty clear that these blocks are just your standard run-of-the-mill blocks. Now that we got the map, we have the character in question that we want to measure, we still need to find a baseline to determine the size of the blocks themselves. The baseline being a character who we already know the height of, so that way we can determine the size of the blocks that are being used in the wall of the meatpacking plant. And thankfully, we already have a Dead by Daylight character with a confirmed height. That character being none other than David King, standing at an impressive 6'2". And how do we know that David King is 6'2"? Well, that's easy, because Bill Overbeck has a Valve confirmed height of being 6 foot tall, and David King is exactly 2 inches taller than Bill when he has his battle mullet equipped. Why not just use Bill instead of David, you may ask? And that's when I say to you, shut up and don't ruin this for me, because I'm the same height as David King and I need this! Now, it's just a matter of placing David King against our base wall and measuring how many blocks tall he is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, a little less than 10 and a half, which, if we just pick a random standard sizing, 4 looks to be a little too small, we'll go with 6. 6-inch blocks would make that 62 inches tall. And of course, we can't forget the base block, which looks to be about double the size of the blocks stacked on top of them, which makes sense considering how much weight it has to support. Adding the base block that is 12 inches tall makes David King's height exactly 74 inches tall, which is exactly 6'2", as we stated earlier. And yes, this is taking into account the fact that he's slouching so incredibly hard. I mean, just look at his back. That can't feel good. Now that we know the smaller blocks fit the standard of being 6 inches tall and the base block being 12 inches tall, all we have to do is line up the Huntress right next to David and put her against the wall, and we should have her height exactly, right? Well, not really. Well, kinda, not really. David slouches, but the Huntress, she slouches. She slouches hard. She's a certified gamer with just how much harder she slouches. I mean, just turn her around and take a look. Her neck is slouched, her shoulders are, well, straight, actually. But her knees are bent and her head is tilted way off to the side. Letting her cycle through her idle animation solves the head tilting problem, but unfortunately, that's the end of the help we're gonna get. At this current point, she is approximately 12¼ blocks tall, which 12 multiplied by 6 is 72 inches, plus a quarter of another block would be 2 inches, making her 74 inches tall. And of course, not forgetting to add a 12-inch base block, making her total height in this slouched state an overwhelming 86 inches tall. That's 7'2", or 218.44 centimeters for all the metric users out there, but we're not done just yet. Doing some slouch testing on myself revealed that slouching my neck and head in a similar manner makes me 2 inches shorter, and translating that to someone who's about 18% taller makes her slouch remove 3 inches from her overall height. The knees being bent doesn't remove quite as much, coming in at an additional 2 inches, but when it comes to scaling a mountain, every inch matters. But those 5 inches make her total baseline height an absolutely staggering 7'7". That's about 91 inches tall or 231.14 centimeters tall, but we still aren't done, because if we include her absolutely massive, monstrously impressive 6 inches of rabbit ear, that would make her total final height an enormous 8'1". That is 97 inches or 246.38 centimeters. Now, I really can't do that height enough justice, so for your homework, I want you to grab a tape measure and get a piece of tape. Find a blank wall in your house to measure out where those last 2 heights land on your wall, and maybe, just maybe, you'll be able to appreciate how domineering and intimidating that height is. So there you have it. Honestly, I could go on yapping forever about different scales and measurements and find all the heights of each of her skins, including the mother bear skin, which makes her almost 9 feet tall. But we're gonna go ahead and finish this video right here. Oh, and also a random bit of information, but for her height to muscle ratio, I would guess her weight to be around 270 pounds, as the BMI chart says that weight is the max limit for the healthy weight of a woman of her height. But the BMI chart doesn't account well for muscles, so she could definitely weigh more. Well, I hope you enjoyed that video, and I hope you stick around to see more videos like this in the future. I'm working on a couple other videos right now that I think you guys will really enjoy, but I appreciate you guys watching this video. Like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.